Welcome to Community Update, where we bring you stories and initiatives that are shaping our communities. I am Promise Okoy, and today we're excited to spotlight a crucial upcoming event, the 2024 Candidates Engagement and Dialogue. This event aims to give our diverse communities a voice in the upcoming municipal elections. We are joined by key stakeholders and organizers behind this initiative to talk about what the event entails and why it's so important for our future. So you're welcome to the show. I want to begin with any of you. Maybe you go first to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you very much, Prom. It's always nice being on your set to have, very exciting and interesting conversation. My name is Adegoke Fadore. I'm sure that a lot of your viewers probably know me. I'm opportune to work with an incredible set of individuals in Leading Leaders Society of Nova Scotia, where we believe in developing the capacity of us in a diverse community, the Blacks, whether historical Blacks, new Canadian Blacks, or Blacks in the Caribbean, to develop our capacity to not just only be seen, but also be heard. And that, I think, is very important. And I'm glad to be here with one of the members of the board, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Obeng Nkrumah. I'm president of the Ghanaian Association of Nova Scotia and a board member.
Interesting. I don't want to pretend that I don't know you guys, your familiar faces, but our viewers need to know you, especially, and have you introduce yourself. That out of the way, I'm so grateful you guys showed up here. But a lot of people might want to ask, why this event and why now? What really motivated you guys, or kind of made you think it's important to have a platform where people will talk to the Black and the newcoming? So anyone can go. Tell us why.
I could go first. So we were discussing and trying to find things that we can bring to community that would make us more involved in the bigger Nova Scotian community that we find ourselves. And what is happening now, the biggest topic of discussion is elections, right? Coming very soon. We've seen some of our own colleagues running. We've seen engagements on TV, but we haven't seen a lot of us being represented in the audience. And so it became necessary for us to bring the folks who are going to be representing us in government so that we can ask questions, and also we can also get to know exactly how we contribute and how our voice matters in decisions that are being made that involves us.
Right. Okay. Tell us a little more about the whole idea behind. I mean, what really prompted you guys? Because I know beyond elections, there are other things within the community. One would say, why didn't you go for those ones? But why this event?
I think she expressed it so aptly about the intention. One of the things we're big about is leadership. We've said that one of the biggest challenges that we face as Blacks is that of leadership. I mean effective, good leadership. Leadership that is not coercive, leadership that is not manipulative, but leadership that is based on inspiration. Also, Leading Leaders Society, our big goal is to inspire change, to lead change, and then to inspire the future. So we feel that this is critical because whether we like it or not, this has to speak about leadership at local levels where it affects you and I, not just but more on a regular daily basis. And that's why we feel like it's important as a society to be involved and to be leading the change like we promised, which is part of why we were created, and to also inspire the future. So we're open that even though right now we might not have a lot of Blacks or historical Blacks in this race, but we get to inspire more people to be part of the process.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to go into details much later on in the interview, but I mean, just driving around city, you see a lot of billboards here, and then, but you find very few people of your color, represented, that was showing that, they want to run for the office, such a high and important position in community. What are the feelings from your community? You're still the head of the Ghanaian community, and you've led the Nigerian community, and then you've made your community so popular. A lot of people have got to know that indeed we have people like this. What is the feeling? What is the perception from your communities?
I think a lot of people still feel they're brand new. A lot of people think that it's not time yet, or they don't think that that's their place. But I always say that decisions that involve us cannot be made without us, right? So we start by at least getting involved and getting to know what is happening, what elections are about. So because a lot of immigrants here and a lot of Blacks do not know exactly what entails. We've seen it back in our countries. We've seen elections on the news from the US right now, but it's happening locally. So we need to get people educated on that and also to have their voices heard.
Yeah, but do you think the number you guys have right now, it's enough to influence the upcoming elections or turn things in either direction that they choose to go? What of influence do you think your number is in this community?
First of all, like just to follow up with what you were saying, the stories we tell ourselves are important, and those stories either will release you or will limit you.
Right.
So a lot of immigrants, whether they're new Canadians, blacks, they call us the underrepresented communities, and I think it's a tag and a tag that we need to do something about. It's not enough to just embrace it, accept it as our identity. We need to do something about it, and key things we need to do is what's happening on October the 12th, to let people know that we exist, we are here, we have a voice, and we need to be seen. And I think that's very important. And when you talk about numbers, the truth of the matter is it's hard for you to, if people don't recognize you, it's hard to influence anything. If somebody is recognized, the possibility of being able to influence things begins to increase. So the first thing about influence in this case is we want people to know that we exist. We're here. Our needs are different. We have some different expectations. Part of the what we run is what interests people most. And some of those things are really interesting. And those are the topics we're hoping that the candidates will come and speak about, things that how it affects you as a black person. And that's, I think, is important.
Yeah, interesting. Talking about what the candidate will be speaking at such event, what are the major issues you want them to address using this platform? Have you sent out questionnaires? What does it look like, really? Lizzie, if you want to go.
For me, I know that I'm interested in finding out how they would support like immigrants like myself who have made Nova Scotia my home. And also we know that there's a housing crisis. We have students who have come, having been an international student before, I know how it feels like. So what are some of the issues or what are the plans that they have when it comes to housing and making it more affordable? Because it definitely is not affordable right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And to have people attend these events, there's a lot of groundwork that is expected. How much of that work have you guys done, and how are they receiving it? What the expectation on that day? How do you think the community you both represent, will be part of this event?
Well, it's beyond just the communities we represent. It's about blacks, and we tried not to limit it to a particular, because the stories we tell ourselves are important. So it's not about either the Ghanaian or the Nigerian community. We have people from Zimbabwe, we have people across different communities. The aim and the objective is an opportunity for us to know what are those issues. So when we sent out the form, people have registered or people are still registering. It's still open for registration. You can still register. You can go to our website, leadingleaders.ca, to be able to register. But one of the things we did was to create what are the topics you would love to hear about. That means we're not asking for them to come and speak to us about generic things or things that they think that are important. We want you to come and speak to us about the things that matter. Funny enough, housing is one of these, the number one right now. I don't know what it will look like at the end of the registration period, but that's one of the things that is high up there, to talk about what are you going to do about housing. You know, funny enough, the 75% of revenues that come to the municipality is for property tax, for property owners. There are a lot of black people who own properties, who pay this tax. So we need to be able to say that, what are those monies being used for? And how can some of those monies be used to solve the problems that also affect us? Not just solving something that looks general or generic. So that's why this program is important. That's why we appeal to everyone to register and be part of it. We have limited spaces still left. I've seen a lot of people register already, and we're still looking for more persons too. It's also going to be an hybrid fashion. We're going to still stream it, but we are more interested right now with the in-person, because that in-person engagement, we believe, is very key.
Right. So again, we have an issue here where a lot of people are not aware or even educated. Before the interview, you were talking about that. How much of that education do you think can come out during this meeting for people to know it's a right to have representation? Because clearly, when you don't have representation that is reasonably okay for your community, they can't speak for you. You need people at the table and a voice that will represent you. How much of awareness do you think our communities generally know about the elections and their rights?
Well, I know that a lot of people don't.
Okay.
And we're hoping that through this, they will, like, a lot of folks in the community will know that they can always ask questions. And even to bring the panel to our community is a big start, right?
Right.
It's a start in the right direction and letting people be more curious,
Yeah.
and read more about elections in the province and how it's run and how they can also impact the elections. So people are registering to volunteer, and those are things that people can do in their community to be recognized. And so we encourage folks to be volunteers for the elections that are coming up as well.
I agree from the volunteering, and a lot of people can get the ideas of probably stepping into the circle and doing the thing. But how much of an impact does it make for people to just come for that event? Do you have other little groups like WhatsApp groups, if you like, Facebook groups that people are already having conversations such as this? And what are you hearing around
We
that?
do have a community group. We haven't promoted or pushed much of that just yet because leadership is not just about just doing a thing. It's understanding the why of a thing, because the why always makes difference. That's what differentiates a leader from a manager. A manager understands the acts, the process. You do this step, you do the next step, you do this activity. So we're not just doing activities. We understand the why of a thing. And that's the reason why we haven't pushed that just yet. We prefer at the moment to bring certain things to what we call the general public, because sometimes a lot of our conversations are in the private, where we have it in some groups. We feel like it's important for us to put it out there in the media, to have it in the general place where everybody can know. The truth of the matter, like you right said, most individuals are so bothered about, pick up and drop off their kids, but they have no idea of the impact that the municipality has on their lives. It affects things like zoning. It affects with the kind of whether you can have what's called a Lego suit or a secondary suit outside. There's so many things that it affects. It affects even whether you can rent your basement out or what the policies are about it. So that's why we cannot play silent, and that's why we feel like those conversations, in as much as they are good for us to have it in our various small groups, which we do have, but it's important for us to have it in the bigger society.
I have a quick follow-up question around there. But talking about policies, I feel this is always a good time when you get to meet these people, even though you're going to tell me a little more about who is expected there and who has, indicated interest to be there to talk to the people. But don't you think it's a beautiful time to be able to put before them what your community issues are, so that getting in there, they will have that in mind, that these people, okay, I remember they mentioned this. What will be the things you'll be putting to them?
It's basically the things that were collected from the poll. We are taught.
You have a poll already?
Yes, there's that's going on, which I said housing is like number one, but there are a couple of other issues. I think we listed about 8 to 9 different issues, and I put order and asked people
Did you have, apart from housing, do you have other ones?
No, there are a lot of other ones too, but housing is like the top.
How about
ones
transportation?
That we see. There's transportation there. I can't remember all the entire, but it's about 9 different areas. Our intention is that at the end of, at some point in time, early next week, we're going to take a snapshot of it and share it with the candidates, so the candidates know beforehand what is important to us. We're not open to hear generics. We're not open to hear somebody trying to rehearse an answer or something about it. We want to be able to say, what are the plans regarding this, that, and the other issue? So that's why we have that already. And so they will be getting a snapshot of that days before the event.
All right. So Lizzie, who are these ones expected to be at that event? Do you have an idea?
I know that Andy Fillmore.
Yeah.
And then
the top 3, then with the black.
When you say the top 3, who are they? Because of course, and Andy has been on the platform here, has spoken to us, and a couple other ones too as well. Yeah. And we believe that if you have a bigger room, with so many people coming in there to talk, they will get familiar with your community. They will have that from the first day to say, yeah, I think I've met these people, and I think these are some of the issues that are, affecting that community. So it's good to know that we have more than just the top 3.
So the challenge is that there are 19 registered people officially by HRM for this, what's it called? But out of the 19, because obviously anyone can almost express an interest to want to run, right? So we looked at, okay, what are those who are having physical presence out there, which means that they're not just interested to run, but they're serious about it. And so we looked at that, and we also looked at the engagements we've seen around, and we could see that they're what you call the 3 that are either with billboards, with some level of seriousness about it. And then we obviously have a person of color, a black person in it, with Daryl Johnson. And we felt like there's no way we can be having this and not have one of our own being in there, even though it might not be seen by the masses or the general, out there as the top 3. So he's going to also be there, also talking about his idea. Let's even know what he has in stock for us, because obviously we recognize he's part of us. Yeah.
Lizzie, you mentioned that for you, your expectation will be to see what they have for community. But beyond that, what is the outcome that you're expecting from this event? Because at the end of the day, you go into any project with the expectation of an outcome. So what would that outcome look like for you?
Well, for me, first for community, I would say create the awareness around elections here in Nova Scotia, and also to make our voices heard. Let the participants or the candidates know that we are here as well, and we do matter. So at least they will know about our community, and they will know that this is dear to our hearts, and we want to be heard. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll take that as your final word. But for you, Adegoke, what would be your final word? How should people register? I know you touched on that.
Obviously it's October the 12th. It's going to be 2 to 4 p.m. We're hoping that people will register and come in person, even though we will have the hybrid version. We will send those information later on about that. To register, you go to our website, which is leadingleaders.ca, and then you'll be able to register for the event. I think it's important for everyone to be there in some way or some form. If you can't come, encourage somebody you know to be part of it. Let's begin this conversation within our communities. Municipality election is vital. It affects the cost you pay for property tax. It affects your policing because there's HRM policing. We want to see more diverse policing in Nova Scotia. I remember that during my time as president, we brought the chief of police in to come and talk to us because we want to see more diverse people. I don't want the tag underrepresented to continue to linger for too long. We need to become represented at all levels. And that's one of the things I believe that this conversation begins to have. So we be in committees that are going to set up, because they will set up all kinds of committees, during their tenure. We want to be able to see us Blacks represented in those places. And even funding, more funding to go to, Black organizations, not $500 or something like that, just show like a scratch in the card. We matter and we're important. And I think it's important for us to send that message loud and clear.
Wow. We matter and we are important. It's a good place to live it. Thank you so much to you two for showing up and talking to us about this event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And that wraps up today's episode of Community Update. Remember to register for this event and be part of the conversation. Until next time, I am Promise Okoy, and this is Community Update.